Welcome to BrightPathTours, and welcome to our mini tour of LaFayette Park. Our tour begins at the LaFayette Monument, which sits at the southeast corner of LaFayette Park at Pennsylvania Avenue and Madison Place, across from the White House. We are going to visit the 5 major monuments in LaFayette Park, so if you're not sure which one is Lafayette, if you face the park, Lafayette's monument is the one on your right. If you're not quite there yet, please pause the tour until you reach the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and Madison Place and the monument to the Marquis de Lafayette. Thank you for downloading this tour. By now, you should be at the Lafayette Monument in Lafayette Park, ready to begin our tour of this historic area. Before we get started, there are a few things that you should keep in mind. First and most important, because this neighborhood is part of the White House grounds, security is heavily enforced. At times, you might find some streets blocked off, so you may need to find alternate routes to the park, or you may have to wait for a while if a motorcade is moving. The park police and security officers are always friendly and helpful in guiding you around this area, but always heed their warnings and instructions. Although we're staying in the park the entire route, there are some hazards you should be aware of, namely steps, edges of monuments, uneven pavement, and security walls and fences. At least we don't have to worry about traffic, but still, please use common sense and be aware of your surroundings. Before we start viewing the monuments, I'd like to give you a little history of this area, so feel free to find a seat on a nearby bench. For such a small space, the park has some interesting stories. We'll get back to the Marquis in a minute. When you hear people talk about this area, they might refer to the place as Lafayette Park, Lafayette Square, or President's Park. However, each of those names has a slightly different meaning. Today, Lafayette Park is this plot of land where we're standing. Lafayette Square includes the buildings that surround the park, and President's Park is the entire area all around the White House, north and south, from H Street to our north, all the way down to Constitution Avenue, south of the White House. In the late 1700s, the Pierce family home was part of the park. It would have stood at the northern side of the park near H Street and Madison Place, and the land that became the park was their orchard. At that time, since there were no formal cemeteries as we know them today, when a family member died, they were buried in the family graveyard. That was the case with the Pierce family. Their graveyard was also part of the land that became Lafayette Park. When the park became part of the White House grounds, the President's Park, in 1791, the bodies in the graveyard were exhumed and moved to a plot in northwest D.C. At least we hope all the bodies were moved. The land became a public park in the 1830s. At times, this land has housed the workmen who built the White House. A horse racing track was nearby. Military troops camped here during the War of 1812 and the Civil War. For a long time, the place was a barren space, lacking any greenery or walkways. Of the 5 statues in the park, only one represents a native-born American. The other 4 statues honor men from France, Poland, and Germany. These are the foreigners who brought their military experience from their home countries, experience and military knowledge that was so valuable to America's struggle for independence, and they helped America win its freedom during the American Revolution. Many years after the Revolutionary War, one of those men, the Marquis de Lafayette, in 1824, toured America in a kind of...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?